Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's on the Menu. Now that I have your attention, really quick, I need you to subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Let's chat it up so we can come up with more topics and get you involved. Greg, what's on the menu?
So today we have a big menu today, a big discussion, guys. So we're going to talk to the CEO, big brother, big sisters of Metro Atlanta, Mr. Kwame Johnson Sr. What's up, sir? We'll chat with him.
Glad to be
Yes,
on with
sir.
you guys.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about his book, The Hope Inside, Harnessing the Power of Mentorship in Life and Career. Listen, guys, this is January's mentoring month. I understand we're at the end of January, but we still want to know, what does this mean? What does that mean? How do you mentor? We're going to get some ideas from Kwame. How do you mentor? What are some of the things you can do? Sickle cell awareness. A lot of African Americans are not familiar with it. I just want to touch on it. I know September is Sickle Cell Month, but I just want to touch on it because, me and Kwame was talking and the cigar bar once, and he brought up a good point that we don't really know a lot about our own body type, our blood type, all these type of stuff. So I think that's a very good quick topic that we can chat about. And we also talk about Black History Month, guys. The next couple of things we're going to chat about is the GaPP program, Georgia Pediatric Program for Children. George, that's close to your heart, bro. And we're going to talk about home health care versus home care and services. And then we're going to hit what's on the menu for the Super Bowl. I'm going to give you guys some ideas and some food thoughts, some food for thought. George, you want to start us off? Hit us with a couple of quick questions here?
So, man, I'm just glad we're here again. Kwame, again, thank you, brother, for coming on with us. I know you have a busy schedule. We all kick it sometimes. We sit back and smoke cigars, but we all have these indelible careers that we have that we want to share with everybody that's listening in and share some great information. And I've been privy enough to sit in on your book signing and hear your story, and it captivated me to the point where I think it's just one of the greatest stories that I've ever heard. So,
absolutely,
man, I just want to throw it over to you and just kind of give us the baseline of how you got from your youth to being the CEO of Big Brother, Big Sister of Atlanta, and also being chosen as one of the under 40 top CEOs in Atlanta.
Ooh, crazy.
Well, first, let me just congratulate all of you all. And I know, Shanika, this is my first time meeting you, but I know Greg and George, we go way back. And I'm, proud of what you all are doing with the podcast. So glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me. I've seen some of your shows. I love the content. You all cover a lot of things that are, relevant, especially in the Black community. So, my story is a story of mentorship. I think we all got here because someone defended our potential, and that's been my story. I've had, of course, faith has been a big part of my story, but we've had people come into our lives who, defended our potential. And when I was a young person growing up in upstate New York, making a lot of bad decisions, I had, folks like my track coach and others who leaned into me, even when I, went to prison when I was 17 for making bad decisions and almost threw my whole life away. And my story is no different than the young men that I met in jail. And I, could share so many of their stories. One I'll share is a young man named Anthony. And I met Anthony my first, week in jail in solitary confinement, which you all have, heard of. That's 23 hours a day in a hole and not a fun place to be. But Anthony and I were, supposed to be enemies. We were from different sides of town. You know how that goes. But we became friends in solitary. And, Anthony shared with me his story. And he would get into fights all the time and come back to solitary, get in a fight, come back for 10 days. And I said to Anthony one time, I said, man, why do you keep getting in these fights, man? This is crazy. Solitary is a really tough place. My first night there, I remember I had heard grown men, barking like dogs. I heard grown men crying for their moms. Those type of things that stick in your mind, and you got kids in there. And most people don't know there are two states in the country that still put youth in solitary confinement. One is Georgia and one is Texas. Every other state has banned it years ago. So I met Anthony in solitary, and we're having these conversations through the ventilation system. And I'm like, Anthony, why do you keep coming back to solitary? And he said, Kwame, you said your father comes to see you every week. I said, yes. He said, I met my father in the next unit for the first time. So that was Anthony's story.
Wow.
But he was no different than me. Encouraged me when I was there, encouraged me to do my schoolwork, all the different things. But you'll never hear his story. You'll hear my story because I had people in my life. I had, coaches. I had my parents. So my story is of the people who leaned in to help me get to where I am today. And I've just had a number of people, professional and personal mentors, to help me, become the CEO that I am today. One other person I'll mention is Robert L. Woodson. I met him when I was at Hampton University my freshman year. And to be honest with you, I felt out of place. I had just came home from prison, and I met this great, amazing HBCU with, a lot of middle-class Black folks, and I felt out of place. And I kept thinking about Anthony and Shank and their stories. And I met Bob, and he was doing work in the community. And he gave me a shot to come work with him and travel the country with him and, try to work on the behalf of the Anthonys of the world. And he showed me how to be a CEO. He showed me how to talk and present. And he brought me in rooms where I could just observe and see how he did it. He got me comfortable with my story, which a lot of us aren't comfortable with our stories. Black men in particular, we're not comfortable with our stories. And I get it. But I lean into my story, and it's actually created a lane for me.
Wow, man, that's amazing. There's one thing I think you said when I was at your book signing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were the first teenager to get your high school diploma, something like that. What was that?
Yeah, well, the first kid ever to take my SATs while in jail.
Yeah.
And that's a story in itself. And, it was a unique kind of situation because when I got in trouble, you got to realize I was a top 10 track runner. I was, similar to your son, George, we talk a lot about. I was a 400 guy. And when I got in trouble, all those scholarships went away, right? I was front page of the paper, caught with gun, drugs, all this stuff. So all got kicked out of school, lost all of my scholarships. So my track coach was like, we're going to still get you a track scholarship and you're going to still graduate on time with your class, which no one thought was possible because I had to go away for a whole year. So my track coach would bring me my schoolwork every week, and I did it in the mail. I taught the kids in school buildings. I'm like, y'all complaining about going to school. It's a privilege to go to school. And when that privilege is taken away, you don't realize it. So I'm doing my schoolwork, and we got a plan for me to, get a scholarship to Hampton if I get out, stay out of trouble, and go to day school and night school to catch up. But I had to take my SATs. That was like the final, step. Kind of hard to take your SATs when you're behind bars, right? So we had an option called a furlough where I was at Jamesville Correctional Facility, which would provide you time to go home for 24 hours within 2 months of your release. Furloughs can be used in a lot of different ways based on where you are, but a furlough can be used to go to a funeral if you're in jail. A furlough could be used to go do work release if you're in jail. But they had this incentive for us if you stayed out of trouble that you could go home, within 2 months of your release. So I'm going to apply for my furlough to, go take my SATs. And I said, I don't need it 24 hours. I need 8 hours. And most guys I knew, they would go home for 24 hours. They would party, have a good time, and come back and sleep off the rest of their sentence. But I said, I just need 8 hours to go to a test site. And I go in front of this kind of like a parole board, the warden, COs, and all these folks. And I'm like, doing my schoolwork, staying out of trouble. Got a plan. Hampton wants to give me a scholarship if I can do these things. And guess what? They denied it. And I said, well, everyone I know, Shank, Anthony, all these guys getting in trouble. They got their furlough. Why didn't I get mine? And these are things most people don't know about how the criminal justice system works and how it tries to destroy you. And I'm a kid that got my parents, my coach, all these folks advocating for me, but you deny my furlough because you say I'm a threat to society. And that was actually going to be the title of my book, Threat to Society. But my publisher was like, nah, it's kind of heavy, Kwame. Let's go with something a little bit more. I'm actually not, the status quo in our society is not enough for me. That's why I do the work I do with young people. So I'm disappointed, of course. I go back to my cell and I'm reading the college admissions book that administers the SAT. The College Board administers the SAT. And there's a section in there for students who have disabilities. So I didn't know if you had a disability, the SAT board will bring you your SAT. So we set it up.
Dang.
I wrote them a letter. I said, I can't remember what I put in the letter, but I didn't put a lot of detail. I said, I can't make it to a test site, and this is where I'm at. And they actually agreed to administer the test on site. So the story doesn't end there. a whole nother hurdle happens. So they come the day of my test. They do a shakedown of the whole unit that I was in. And I had never been through a shakedown. The whole 8 months that I was there, they never did a shakedown. So I said, this is interesting. So long story short, they come in my cell, and I got textbooks all over the place. I'm like the nerd of the jail, right? And they come out, and they have a cigarette in their hand, which is contraband. And if you get caught with contraband, you go to the hole for 10 days. So they know if I have contraband, I can't take my SATs, right? So this is how far they went to try to prevent me to take my SATs. Next door to my cell is a guy named Shank. And Shank, just by his name, tells you a lot about this guy.
Tells
That
you a
was his
lot
name.
already.
I don't even know Shank's real name. Shank, he was a blood gang leader. Me and him met as enemies. We became friends. He was who you consider a throwaway in society. But Shank came next door, took the blame for the cigarette, went to the hole for me, and I took my SATs and became the first kid ever in the United States to do that. So
Wow.
that is like, you know, those type of stories you never hear, but the Anthonys or the Shanks of the world I represent every time I speak, because they're no different than me. And Shank is the only reason I was able to take my SATs that day.
Gee.
Man,
Now,
that
do you
story.
still keep in contact with them or in Anthony?
I lost track of those guys a while ago. They've been in and out most of their adult life. What's interesting about Anthony is that when I joined Big Brothers and Big Sisters 6 years ago as a CEO, which we'll talk more about, we match adults with kids. You know, we got hundreds of boys waiting for mentors, hundreds of girls waiting. So when I joined, I said, yeah, sign me up to be a big. I'm going to be a big to a young man in the program. And guess who I get matched with? A young man named Anthony.
That's how God works, man. I tell you, man, that is powerful, bro.
That's
I
amazing.
mean, you know, you just don't hear about the Kwames and the Anthonys of the world. You don't hear, you know, we don't have that platform to hear that, you know. I mean, that is freaking amazing. Absolutely. And
Now,
so now, go ahead.
I know like a couple of, I know last year and I think the year before that you did the iconic mentoring auction. Is that in January? Are you doing that this year?
Yes, and it's where we get different celebrities, CEOs around the city to donate 1 hour of their time to the highest bidder. So it's an auction during National Mentoring Month, which we're in, and it's a way to raise awareness, but also raise money for us. So we came up with that event during COVID because we were doing a lot of in-person events during COVID, and we had to pivot. So it's actually an online auction, and with the first year we had Shaq, we've had Carol Tomei do it, who's the CEO of Home Depot. We've had Paul Brown, CEO here of Inspire Brands, Arthur Blank, owner of the Falcons. And you would never guess the top winner. The top winner so far, since we've been doing it for a few years, has been Carol Tomei. And she was auctioned off for $30,000 for a 1 hour meeting.
Oh,
Are
wow.
you serious?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Wait. Outside of Shaq and Arthur Blank, really?
Yeah, he was a top
That's
seller.
interesting.
And a lot of people want to get in front of her and do business with UPS. And
absolutely.
she's the CEO
No,
of
I
UPS.
get it.
Yeah.
Listen, I get it. Absolutely. You know, and that reminds me though, it's like people are saying that used to be a TikTok that was running around talking about if I had $500,000, would I spend time with Jay-Z or something like that? You know,
Or take the money.
or
Take the money or have dinner with Jay.
Exactly. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, there are certain people, Carol, Arthur, I would like to spend just some time. It's not about the money, though. I'm not saying I won't take the money, so that don't get me twisted. But you know, you would just like to spend that time with a couple of people just to really just pick their brain and truly understand that. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kwame, so shifting into what and where I first heard your story at was at your book signing, The Hope Inside, right? So how was that? I remember one of your most inspirational things where you were saying, hey, if you got a book inside of you, figure out how to write it, right? So how was that process? Were you able to deliver yourself in that book and you kind of emptied your soul to be able to share with the world how you matriculated from X to Z?
Yeah, and and I say to all leaders, I say this to all you. I've said this to George and Greg. We all have a few books in us. Shanika, Black women write more than Black men, right? So Black
Oh, I had a
women
book.
write books. See, you get it, right? And my mission has been to get these knuckleheads on here to write their books, right? Because we all have a
Yeah,
book in us. We all have a story. I have a story. It is unique in some ways, but that doesn't discount any other body's story.
right.
And what I've learned during that process, that a book is three really important things. One is validation, right? Especially for someone who looks like me with a bald head. We need that validation, even with all the different things we achieve in life. The second thing is it's the best business card you'll ever have. A book. Whenever I meet with somebody important, I leave them a book behind and I sign it. Wherever I go, wherever I speak, I bring my book with me. So it's the
Oh,
best
wow.
business card you'll ever have. And the third is legacy. We all have children. Years from now, we'll all be gone, but that book will always be here for your legacy and for, folks who come behind you. So I encourage everybody to at least write their story and at least write, something that you can teach people. And that's what my first book was. It's about my story, but also some leadership lessons, in particular for young professionals trying to get into nonprofit, because most people don't even know what nonprofit is, but it's a whole space. It's $1 billion industry. And
Right.
the reality is most of the nonprofits are serving Black and brown communities. So why shouldn't it be led by people that look like us? And too often we don't know about it. We don't hear. I never heard about it when I was at Hampton. I didn't hear about being a CEO of a nonprofit.
Right.
So that's what the book was. It's my story. The first question my publicist asked to write the book was, "What's your first memory?" And that's where we started. And we went from there. Whatever your first memory was, and we went from there. And I've been able to use it to just spread the message about mentorship. I got the title, The Hope Inside. The title for me, I don't know about you, Shanika, was the hardest part for me, figuring out what the title would be. And Oprah Winfrey has a quote where she talks about mentors bring out the hope inside of us. So I went with the hope inside.
So I'm glad you touched on that, because that is one of my questions that just was blaring at me. The hope inside, harnessing the power of mentorship in life and career. So how do you tie those together? How are you tying the power of mentorship in life and your career? How are you tying those? How are you putting those guys together?
Yeah, so I talk about mentors like my coach Maynard, who actually was a white guy, who helped me when I was at my lowest point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then also talk about mentors like Bob Woodson, who helped me professionally
Okay.
become a CEO. So I talk
Okay.
about those people and how they played a role. But professionally, Bob really showed me he modeled for me what a CEO looks like and gave me the confidence. I think that's one big thing we all struggle with, is that confidence that you can do it, especially when in many cases you're the only one in the room. So I talked about that, Greg, through the mentors and the different roles they played in my personal life, but also my professional.
Got it.
So my
Got it.
question is, how do you meet a Bob? Like what? I mean, I understand your mom is a nurse, or is she a nurse, and your dad was an educator, right? Or is an educator?
Yeah, they were. My
So,
mom was. My mom was in politics, but she was a nurse by trade and was on the school board in Syracuse, my hometown.
so my question to you would be, how would a person that is not, that doesn't have those type of people around them, you know what I mean, to become, like, how do they find a mentor?
The sponsor.
Like, I wasn't exposed to those type of people. I wasn't exposed. Like, the first successful Black woman that I personally saw was my first grade school teacher, you know? So how does one in the lower poverty areas find a mentor outside of, one that they see online, or, people say you can go on YouTube and find your mentor. Like, some people really need that person. And I know you're with the big brother, big sister, but how do you find a Bob? Like, how do you find that professional person?
Yeah, so I found Bob, I think, because of God and my passion, which I'll get to that. But to like a more practical answer to what you're saying is, and what I've been working on my whole entire adult life, is that we got to make mentorship a part of what we do in the Black community, and it's just not right. Young people need to see us. They need to hear our stories. Young people need to see it to believe it, right? I was talking to some pastors recently, and they were talking about how young people don't go to church no more, how the new generation doesn't go to church. And I said something to them that they didn't really want to hear, but it was true because this is what I hear from young people. I say young people don't want to hear a sermon; they want to see one.
Mm.
They
Yeah,
want
that's
to
a
see
good
a sermon. They want to see it. So when we as leaders who've made it out or made it to some level of significance, we need to go back to our local high schools. We need to go back to our middle schools. We need to go to a school in Atlanta and so they can see what we're doing and hear about getting into IT or getting into the business world or becoming a lawyer, something outside of what they see on TV and on social media. So it's our responsibility as leaders to be present in the community so that they can see us. So that's why what I do at Big Brothers and Big Sisters is so important, because I bring adults together with young people so they can be in close proximity with a living, tangible example so they can see it. So it's not so foreign and so far away from them, right? I believe I met Bob because I found my passion. And that's what I talk to young people about quite a bit. I found my passion with Shank and Anthony. And I was so determined to figure out a way to solve that problem that God just kind of put people in my pathway to help me get to that place. A lot of young people haven't figured that out. A lot of grown folks haven't figured out their passion.
Right.
But I think when you figure that out and you figure out your lane, and when you get in that lane, the right people will come along and help you get to where you're trying to get to. But more realistically, we got to show up more where young people see us and get a different example of what they're being told and taught on social media.
So I
Right.
have
I
a
do
question.
agree.
I want to take it back a second and I don't want to preface it with, coming from your past, coming from your history. When you first took the job as the CEO of Big Brother, Big Sister, was there any hesitation? Was there any fear? Were you, and I'm not trying to speak fear in existence into your life or anything like that, but did you have any hesitation about taking the job, or what was your feeling? What was your thought? I'm just really curious, how, to me, that was a big undertaking.
Yeah, so I've been in youth development my whole adult life, and one of the questions they asked me in the interview at the last question they asked me was how did you prepare for this interview?
There you go.
And I said I've been preparing for this my whole entire life. So since I
Okay.
had worked with Bob, I was already comfortable with my story and confident, and that is power. When you can be confident and be
Wow.
vulnerable, it's power. And I
Mm,
just, it wasn't.
mm,
I felt like it was just meant to be. It takes time to get there, and I had a lot of different things I went through to get to that point, but
okay.
it was kind of meant to be, and it's obviously shown because we've doubled the size of the organization, we've doubled the
Hmm.
size of the budget. When I took over, we were in debt. We got 12 million in the bank right now.
Right.
So we really
Wow.
I was able to show that I could do it, because when you get a chance as a black leader, you really gotta, it's a lot of high stakes, right? And
Hmm.
with a strong team and a lot of other things, it really worked out. But I've been, again, it goes back to that passion and purpose. I've been in that lane my whole career, so it's like it's like a glove for me. It's a fit for me.
Hmm. Okay. What type of major projects or programs do you guys do there? Is there something like, like myself, if I wanted to just come in and join the project, or even use partner or sponsor with other organizations or companies, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a lot of different ways people can get involved, and I'll say at a basic level, for all your viewers, we have 10,000 kids waiting for mentors across the country.
Jesus.
10,000. We got a few
Wow.
hundred in Atlanta. When I first joined, we had about 2,000 kids on a waiting list. Most were boys, and some were
Okay.
waiting more than a year, more than 2 years. So these
Hmm.
are kids that have come into our offices. We have 200 offices across the country, and said, I need a
Hmm.
mentor. So these are kids that are just hanging out, making the run. These are kids that said, I want a mentor, and then they are waiting for mentors. So again, the biggest way anybody can get involved is to mentor a young person. And it don't even got to be with me. It could be you just mentoring someone in your community, because we got to make mentorship a part of the fabric of the Black community. When you
Mm.
graduate high school, so my big vision is to solve poverty.
Hmm.
That scares people sometimes, right? How do you solve poverty?
Right.
I'm not saying eliminate it, but we need to solve it. It shouldn't be that if you're born into poverty in Atlanta, you got a 4% chance to make it out. I don't know if you know that.
Mm.
If you're born in poverty in
Yes.
Atlanta, you got a
Right.
4% chance to make it out. And a city as great as
Wow.
Atlanta. You go to any major
Wow.
city, it's similar statistics.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest way out of poverty is a high school diploma. I don't know if you all knew that.
Why? Why?
Statistically,
Why?
the
Why?
fastest way for
It's
upward
true.
mobile, that's the fastest way is a high school. And that's not the end, right? You career, college, all those things are great. My
Yeah.
lane has been to get kids out of high school. That's been my sole focus. Because if you can't get out of high school,
Okay.
you don't got a chance.
Okay.
98% of the kids we mentor graduate high school on time. 98% avoid the criminal justice system. So we have a solution, and that solution is just through volunteers like yourself coming in to be a mentor a young person. So
Mm-hmm.
mentorship is a solution to poverty in the Black community. I don't know how to solve racism, but I do know how to solve poverty. And if you're not in poverty, racism don't affect you as much. These are the things that Martin Luther King was talking about. Economic mobility. That's how we solve these problems. So again, we all can be the solution. It's
Yeah.
right there in
Mm-hmm.
front. It's right there in front of us. So to get to your question, anyone can come and be a volunteer. Whether it's in the community, you can come into our schools and volunteer. We got a lot of different ways people can plug in. And I think that's the most, outside even donations, that's the best way is if I can figure out a way to get every Black man in America to mentor a young Black boy, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to solve a lot of problems in our community.
Yeah, that's one of the things, Kwame. When I again heard your presentation and how passionate you are about it, it actually convicted me. Right?
Yeah.
The conviction still is there,
Mm-hmm.
even though I haven't had time to execute on being a mentor and coming through the program because I'm going to come through that program.
Absolutely.
I think it was something like 12 hours a month or something you could
Yeah.
do. You could volunteer to that. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you go through the background check to make sure you are who you said you are and stuff like that. So that's cool because kids don't need to be hurt by people that's faking
Right.
as big brothers, right? So
Exactly.
it's really a cool thing that poverty will be solved by being an example to somebody that doesn't have an example. That's what I just heard, right?
Yep.
If you can
Right.
show a kid how to come out of the thing that they're in, they can probably execute on it and replicate what it is that you're doing. So I had a
Mm-hmm.
buddy of mine with my golf. I'm big in golf, right? He said, if I could put on a tournament with inner city youth that has never been on a golf course, and
Mm-hmm.
every golf cart has a mentor on the golf cart, and you have 4 hours to ride around the golf course and talk to this kid. Maybe pray with this kid, maybe just give a testimony on, hey man, I'm not too different from you. I know it might look like it now, but I'm not too different from you. So I am really convicted on that. And I promise you, this year I'll be down and going through the process to become a big brother.
Yeah, whenever time's right, and I know you're going to do it, but you're right. That's a huge solution in our community. Again, we got some wicked issues we got to solve as a country, but just think about it. We have more kids that look like us boys, and the reason I'm going in on the men is because women, y'all volunteer more than men, right?
Mm.
So the women step up. I'm telling you, man. Like I have a waiting list of women for girls, so we have more women wanting to volunteer than I have girls to match sometimes. But it's the
Yeah,
exact
I try to
opposite for men.
mentor. I'm a hairstylist, so I try to mentor as much as I can, even just from behind the chair or whenever I talk to anyone. And like you said, we all have a story, and most people wouldn't believe I was born on Skid Row. I'm not all the way where I want to be, but it's still statistically, I'm not even supposed to be sitting right here in front of this camera. So I agree with you 100%. And I do feel like more men should step up because that's why so many young guys who think they should be a rapper or, a drug dealer or whatever, because that's what they see. They see the fancy chains and all that. Even coming from being incarcerated and actually going to the University Hampton, right? And becoming the CEO that you are, like most people can't even imagine. I have a brother who went to prison at 16 and he got out at 40. I don't know him. I want to help him, but there's always this excuse of I can't do it because I did 20 years or plus whatever behind bars, and then I see people like you who come out into the world and just change your whole life around. So I'm big on the men really stepping up and helping these young kids. And even let's not even forget about some of the guys in their 30s plus, because they need a little mentoring as well. I know we're talking about the youth, but I feel like there are some grown men who are still stuck in that child mentality that could use mentoring as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's a very good point. Absolutely. So let me lead into Black History Month a little bit because I know that there's a lot of different ways to honor Black History Month. Supporting Black businesses, read books from Black authors. um,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things you guys are planning on doing for Black History Month?
It's raising awareness, really. It's really getting kids to understand the history. Not often are they taught it. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think we really need to make young people aware of, where we come. And, they really need, going back to the current conversation, examples now of people who are, doing amazing things. I go and speak in a lot of schools during Black History Month. And I do,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes hard talking to kids. They're younger, they're not focused. And I'll go in and, try to get them engaged. And I asked one question when I always go to a room. I said, who's the richest Black person in the world? And who do you think they guess consistently is?
LeBron James.
Oprah
Kanye,
Winfrey or something.
Jay-Z.
Nope. President Obama. Isn't that amazing?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's the most consistent answer.
Wow.
And I guess
Wow.
to a certain extent it is good. But then
It
I start
is.
talking about Robert Smith and, just people who they never even heard of,
Wow.
and they don't know,
Right.
not only do they not know Black history, past history, but also current
Dang.
history. So we got to do a lot more there. I wish there was a way we could gamify that stuff where kids can learn about Black history, learn about the criminal justice system, learn about all these things we learn about, in a way that meets them where they are.
Wow.
See, there you go. There you go. Inventing something. Gamify. See, there you go. You're gonna come up with something. I know. I know you're prepping us for something.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's definitely. I really like that. And to be honest, I was telling a couple of cats that we was going to have you on, and I'm just gonna speak the truth of what some of the responses I got, which I really want to combat this type of negativity from a Black man's perspective, and I just don't want to always say Black man and put that title on it, but when you say, hey, you should do some of the mentoring programs, you should join. And a lot of the guys' responses I got is what kind of time it is. I know, George, you mentioned this 12 hours, what do I have to do? Why?
Mm-hmm.
It's, and so I'm trying to see how do we overcome some of these myths and how do we overcome that mentality, it's just, it seems to be like you're talking to a brick wall with certain people. What is, I guess, what are some of the ways or what are some of the jargons that I could use to say, hey, look, you're helping, a child that's in need. Hey, you're helping someone in poverty. What are some of the jargons that I could use to help these guys overcome this myths and negativity thoughts?
And it's a real, real challenge for, for
It
Black
is,
men.
man.
And I get it to a certain extent. I'm in this space, so I know this more than, the average person. So
Right.
it becomes natural to
Right.
me. But, there are a lot of men who've succeeded, who have stories similar to all of ours, who went to college, who've got a career, and,
Yeah.
they have family, life, things are pulling on them, right? And, there's kind of three levels of I think, for people, and this is not just men, as it relates to achieving. The first level is just survival, right? We know a lot of people, all they're going to do is just survive. The second
Got it.
level is achieving college degrees, titles, money. The third level is giving back. And what I'm trying to do is get more men to get to that third level where it's beyond the career and the titles and the money. Where are you acting on a certain life of service? And I get it. Black men have been through a lot. You go back to even past slavery. You go to mass incarceration, crack cocaine, that just destroyed and put many of us behind bars and taking us out of the family. But we got to figure out a way to get us back present more in the community, whether it's being a father or being a mentor. We got to get to that service part for more men, and that's what we need in our community. And ain't nobody else gonna come do it for us. Ain't no white person coming to do it. It's gonna have to be us to figure out how to do it for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think this platforms like this where, you know, we can have fun talking about relationships and some fun stuff, but sometimes you have to segment things to have serious conversation and not only be parasitic, but, you know, protege to your community. You know what I'm saying? So we really, you know, today is really one of those podcasts that it's like, man, this is going to be helpful for people to hear and really try to start giving back, because it is, once you've achieved certain things, it's indelible for you to do that third thing, and that's to give back. So that's really cool. I know we had on our agenda topics, Greg, that we were going to hit sickle cell and some other things, but Kwame, is there any other things that you would highlight before we move on to any other topics that we didn't touch on and that you would like to expound on?
I would just say, as it relates to National Mentoring Month, which we're in January, I would just encourage everybody to think about the mentors that played a role in their life, because we all had them. You know, if you are here today in this room or listening, you are here because of somebody mentoring you. If you are here without a mentor, then we need to get a sample of your blood, because you're very unique. And if you're honest about that, one, you need to reach out to those folks if they're still around and thank them for the role they played. And then two, you got to think about how you need to give back, whether it's today or tomorrow, right? We all got life. We're dealing with situations, and you want to be at the right place and time to do this in a real way. But at some point, and this is what I tell folks, listen, I do a lot of talks to leaders, and I'm like, listen, you can't come to me and tell me you're a leader if you ain't pouring into the next generation in some kind of way. It could be a baseball coach. It could be a whatever, you know, golf. It could be a mentor with us. It could be speaking at a school. But if you were not in some way pouring back to the generation, you don't talk to me about being a leader, because you're not.
That's real.
Right. That's real. Absolutely.
Facts.
All right, good deal. So yeah, let's move into, let's chat a little bit about the sickle cell. You know, one of the things, Kwame, you and I had a nice little conversation. You know, one of these days we're just sitting down after work, just talking about just the sickle cell disease itself, and I found that you were very, very influential and very informative about the disease, which was quite surprising to me because, and I know we sort of both played off of that. It was surprising to me because I told you my grandmother was over the Southeast for one of the directors or the head of the Sickle Cell Foundation when she was alive, you know, and kicking very well in Alabama. And, you know, we talk about how it affects a good 90 to 100,000 people in the U.S., mainly Black people or mainly African Americans. And people don't really understand. And again, guys, I know September is the month, but I think this needs to be brought to attention because people don't really understand, like for our kids and athletes and things of that nature who possibly suffer from it. You know, I wanted, you know, you to come on and just, talk, just have that general conversation like we had where, you know, you just really just let me think twice about, Greg, people don't really know their blood type. And I'm just like, good night. He's right, you know.
You're right about that.
You know, I had to think about that twice myself, you know, but really,
the only reason I know mine is because it's on my military ID.
Right.
Exactly, right.
That's what I was about to say. It's on my military ID.
Right. Yeah, we were sitting, you know, we had so many conversations in the cigar lounge, and we were talking about health overall, and we kind of went down to the sickle cell anemia and sickle cell trait, which are two different things which we could talk about. But the conversation started off about, which I'm really big on, is knowing your numbers. And in particular for men, you hear about men passing in their 50s. I think in many ways we don't know our numbers. And, you know, I was 3 years ago walking around not knowing all my numbers, in particular my blood pressure rate. And I knew that was in my family line, and I got better. But I'm big on men knowing their PSA levels, their kidney function levels, their blood count, their sugar levels, you
Wow.
name it. You need to get a full physical, all this stuff at least once a
Mhm.
year, because a lot of men don't know they got cholesterol issues, they got heart issues, they got high blood pressure. You add alcohol on top of that, it's a ticking time bomb. And you hear about some of these stories, but then we got kind of on a personal level. We were talking about sickle cell trait, which I have, which I didn't
Mhm.
know I had until my son was born, because when my
Right.
father, they didn't test for it when I was born. So when I found out,
Mhm.
when my son found out, I found out, and all my brothers and sisters, they found out because no one knew. And sickle cell
Mhm.
trait is not a bad disease like sickle cell
No.
anemia. It's very, very different
Right.
diseases. You know about sickle cell anemia and all the stuff it causes, but there are a lot of black men in particular don't know they have sickle cell trait. And there's implications for that. You got to drink more water. You can't go scuba diving. You can't jump out of a plane. There's things that can cause you to have an issue if you don't know that. So we were talking about that in particular, especially for athletes, which I was, my son is, and just knowing that you have sickle cell trait and the things you have to be aware of. The last thing I'll say about that is it actually originated in Africa as actually a defense
Mm.
to malaria. So your blood cell is shaped a little different when you have sickle cell trait, which is
Mhm.
harder for the malaria to latch on to it, right? So
Mhm.
it's an
Mhm.
interesting
Mhm.
thing that a lot of us don't know. A lot of black men
Oh.
have sickle cell trait; they don't know about it. And there
Mhm.
were some recent studies being done during COVID to see what effects that would have if someone caught COVID who had sickle cell trait. And so I think it's just important in general, Greg, for us to know our numbers, know our health, know our history, our family history as we walk through life, because we want the longest life that we can have.
Absolutely. 1,000 agree with you on that. And man, I appreciate you sharing that story, man. But look, I do want to say this one thing, and I know Kwame hates when I bring this up. I brought it up for his birthday party. And George, we talked about this. You know exactly where I'm about to go. Look, if you go, he's talking about, oh yeah, the trait versus the disease and things of that nature. And this cat right here, when I first met Kwame, he showed me a TikTok of him jumping out of the pool of about 4 feet of water. I don't know. It was something around that. I listen, guys. I don't care if it's 1.5. I tried it. I almost broke my neck, George. Look,
I was,
so
I was,
George,
yeah.
listen,
And I'm gonna say that we can edit this. I was pissed off about that damn video. Right?
listen,
I'm looking at him
listen,
in his prime, a nice young 40-year-old stud, and he takes the
listen,
pool and he jumps out the
listen.
pool and lands on the side. And I was thinking now in high school, I came in second place in the slam dunk contest. I was like, I can't do that. I cannot
George,
do that. I
listen,
can't.
bro. Listen, man. And I'm gonna say that SHIT sugar honey iced tea. I was floored, man. I was like, what
Yeah,
the hell? Who does that? And it was with ease. So I get now why you really push the exercising, how you eat, knowing your body and knowing how to really, take care of yourself, especially us being African Americans. We really have to do that. So I get that, man. I tell you that was hilarious, though. But all right, good deal. All right, guys. So, Kwame, I know I want to respect your time. Hopefully, if you have time to hang around for a couple more topics that we got, if you need to tear out, I definitely understand. But if you feel like hanging around for a couple more, we want to talk through this whole GAP program, from home healthcare perspective, home healthcare versus home care. I want George to sort of kind of touch on that because all of this falls in line with just overall health. So if you got a couple more minutes, if you want to just hang around with us, that'll be great. If not, I know
Let
you.
me say this, going back to what you were saying about the jumping out the pool part. We all have
Okay.
superpowers, physical and non-physical superpowers that
Uh-huh.
we've been given. So that's not even something I can train to do. It's just a gift I've had. So you got to,
You had
what you
to.
got to
Says,
figure
ain't
out
no
is
way, Miss
you got to
Deion.
figure out what your gift is. What gift
Listen,
you got to push
listen.
yourself.
That's
You
not
might be
your
able to
gift,
lift
Greg.
500 pounds. You never know until you
That's
try.
it. All the
You
skin
got to.
coming up on my shins. I just seen the skin rolling up on my shins from
George,
missing the side and having to come down the side of that swimming
George,
pool wall. I done canceled my membership at Lifetime. We all go to Lifetime. And he
No,
gonna
you
do that
right,
at Lifetime. He should have
right.
canceled my membership.
you just
George,
gotta figure out what your
listen, man.
superpower is, and then you
Look,
gotta
Mm-mm.
record it.
George, this was 3-4 feet. I said, oh, I can do 2 feet. That ain't no problem. Man, I slipped
Oh, you
off that
thought you could
thing.
do
I
that?
said, you know what? I'm done.
No, you don't want
I
no look. No,
said,
you don't
And
want
you
to pull
can't
no
jump over
Achilles or
the
nothing.
car. You better
You don't
sit
want to
down
do nothing
somewhere.
like that.
Right.
You don't want to hurt yourself. I see too many cats in the gym get hurt. But no, I appreciate you all having me on. I appreciate what you all are doing. I love to come back and be a part of this. I want to, I see this being real big. What y'all are doing. Y'all got a lot of good stuff to
absolutely.
share. Y'all
Thank
good
you.
people. Shanika's great. Meeting you. I got to get out of the classroom for the school security come in here and tell me I'm so.
Right.
Right.
That's
But I
right.
got
I
to
know.
when I get when I'm gonna
Absolutely.
get my son from practice. But appreciate y'all for having me on, man. And yeah, look forward to watching the episode. And if there's anything else we need to cover at another point, I can do that as well.
Thank you for
Absolutely, sir.
coming.
I certainly appreciate it. Definitely, once again, big thank you. Big cool. Look, guys, that was one of the best interviews I have had to date, have seen to date. I love it. Again, big ups to our boy KJ for coming out here. Thank you so much. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, that was
So,
cool. That was cool. Thank you, Kwame.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and keep it rolling. We want to quickly touch bases about the GAP program, the Georgia Pediatric Program for children, and also, George, we want to talk a little bit about the home health care services versus home care. So let's talk about the GAP program, George. Let's get into it a little bit. Drop some knowledge,
Yeah,
to
man.
us on us real quick,
Yeah,
man.
to stay in the same vein with healthcare and mentoring, like Kwame was talking about. So, I'm a partner and part owner of a home healthcare company, and many people don't know what the differences is between home care, or care home, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
we have a home healthcare agency, and to assist in the GAP program, which stands for Georgia Pediatrics Program. It's a
Mm-hmm.
program for kids from birth to 21 years old, and it's provided and sponsored by Medicaid and Medicare. And if you have a child that is medically fragile or special needs, you can have assistance from as doctor's orders for it to have skilled or unskilled nurses come out to the home. So there's many parents that kind of go through, different challenges with trying to, take care of a medically fragile child, and they don't know that there's here's the thing, no out of pocket cost to them to have assistance for their children, right? So
Wow.
it's a beautiful program that
Wow.
many need to sign up for. There's also a new iteration of that's been released. Say Shanika, you don't want a CNA in your house, or you don't want an LPN or RN in your house. They've just
Mm-hmm.
passed it where you can actually get paid for taking care of the child that you've been taking care of already,
That's
right?
deep.
How crazy is that?
Nah, that's really good. I mean, I had to take care of my mother-in-law, and that is a really hard job, and it's draining, not only just emotionally but physically. So to be able to get paid for that,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's
and
outstanding.
it's based on a patient care plan, right? It's not something that you can just say, "Hey, raise my hand,"
Yeah.
but your child is actually diagnosed. He goes to the doctor. The doctor writes a patient care plan that's sent over to Medicaid. So we engage parents all the time. It's about giving back to the community, and understanding that there's more things out there for our assistance than what we know, right? So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. So, Greg, you kind of touched on the difference between home health care, home care, and care home. So,
Yeah.
a home health care agency like we have, we only staff and attend to the medically fragile because of a patient, a physician's order, right? It's just not one of those things that we go out and say, hey, we're going to come by and watch your kid for you or something like that. It has to be a physician's thing. So ours is certified by Medicare and Medicaid, right? So that child gets assigned so many hours per week to have a CNA, or LPN, or RN. And this goes as much as wheelchair bound. A kid may have cerebral palsy or a trach or a gastro tube or something like that. So you may need an LPN or RN to come out. And the beauty about home health care is it gives you a better chance of healing, right? It's hard to heal at home, but if you can get the same care at your house, have an RN or LPN or a CNA come out and give you medical attention in your home, you're much more conducive to recovery faster. You're in your own environment, you have your own smells, and you have your own loved ones, right? So that's what we have, a home healthcare agency. So a home care agency is one that has somebody that comes and babysits your geriatric parent, right? Bathes someone or cooks and cleans the house. That's home care, right? No prescription, no anything. It's just kind of like providing a service to come in and assist. And then care home is actually a facility, right? That houses elderly people, right? So it's a facility. We don't have a facility as a home healthcare agency. What we do is dispatch our nursing staff out to your home to actually come in and provide you medical services.
Now, how do nurses and LPNs get with your program, your agency, to be able to?
It's actually that we get with them. So we actually we actually do hiring, right? So we put these nurses in our pool, in our staff pool, and we assign them to cases as we get cases. It's amazing because CHOA, Children's Hospital of Atlanta, has over 1,000 cases that need to be filled, right? It's that many kids and parents going through these various struggles. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? And you don't know. So we're trying to reach as many people as we can to let them know, hey, there's some assistance in place until your child is 21. And when when they turn 21, there's another program that they can roll over into. So the nursing and the skilled and unskilled nursing is kind of something that we go out and hire at need.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't know about that, because I know quite a few myself that don't have a clue. See,
so this is today's program. We just being informational. We're getting it done, and in our community is the least informed, right? We'll be on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, but we won't understand that you can have assistance with something that you're struggling with, like taking care of a sick kid, and that's not easy.
So let me ask a dumb question. So assisted living, what is? To me, that's
a new name for senior citizen home.
Yeah,
that's just for senior citizens. Those are not for people who need care home services.
No. That's the new name. Yeah, that's a facility.
And when I had to deal with that, I didn't even know the first place to look. And then you have to worry about who's coming, how will they treat your loved one, and all of that. Because a lot of people get into that and don't even have the passion for it. And it shows because you do get agitated, you do get irritated, but it comes with a lot of patience because it's so much, it's so draining. So I commend even the people that work with your agency.
Yeah.
Because that's really a big deal.
Nika, we vet very hard, so we do background checks, right? Because you're not only dealing with we specialize in pediatrics, right? So a person's child is very dear to them, right? So we have to do a background check on you. We run you through fingerprint. We do everything before we allow that person to come into your home. So it's a program that we have in the home healthcare business that it's just beneficial, and we do our due diligence to make sure that we're not sending just anyone out to your home.
That's hard. That's your child.
And you said that these people have to be. Did you say LPN or registered?
That's the staff that we have. We call them skilled. Yeah, we have skilled and unskilled nursing, and that is based on what the physician's care plan is, right? So a CNA won't do
Oh,
what an LPN or RN does. So
Right.
a
got
CNA
it.
won't come in and do trach care if a child
Mhm.
has a trach in his neck or a breathing
Dang.
tube or something like
Okay.
that, or chemo,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Chemotherapy. I mean, a RN
Mhm.
will come in and administer or do some kind of rehabilitation and
Okay.
administering to that. So
Mhm.
Okay.
it runs the gamut. It's so many things that I haven't mentioned that
Okay.
this covers, man. But it's
Hmm.
just a blessing to lift the burden off parents that don't
Yeah.
Right.
know if you file for this Medicare program, Medicaid
Hmm.
program. From the
Hmm.
moment I talk to you, 30 days later, you're in the program and getting assistance.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if I have a child with one of your needs, how do I get in touch with you? Where do I go? How do I look for your services?
Yeah,
Where do I go?
you can hit us at elite in home care at Gmail. Right. You can we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on
Okay.
TikTok, we're everywhere where people are today. Right.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy to
We'll make sure we put that
just
in the description too
Well,
then.
this
yeah,
needs
Just
to
make
be
sure.
plugged in on daily. Like this
yeah,
is a plug in daily
yeah.
for this particular thing because a lot of people do not know about it. So
Hmm.
if we can come
Yeah,
on here and we can laugh and we can joke and we can talk about
Right.
everything else,
yeah.
this is something that should be permanently put into play, promoting it and
Absolutely.
getting the word
Absolutely.
out there.
Yep, yep. No, it
Absolutely.
is. And it's no out of pocket cost. All that parent has to
Wow.
do is have a child that has a patient care plan and say,
Okay.
this child needs
Yeah.
assistance. We get
Okay.
them in the program and they get assistance as needed.
Mm.
Is
Dang.
that simple? And how crazy is that we don't have access to that unless somebody uncovers it and gives it
Correct.
out like this.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
in the vein with Kwame, it's still about how do we affect our community, and it's just not for Black, right? It's for red,
Right.
brown, orange, whoever. It's
Hmm.
available for whoever needs it. But I think we don't disseminate information in our community
Right.
like we should. We laugh and talk about Rick Ross and what this person doing,
Right.
what that person doing, but sometimes we have to stop and actually talk about something that builds our community,
Right.
Yeah.
overall.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Man, that's deep, man. That is real deep, man. I really appreciate you sharing that, brother.
Oh, absolutely,
Absolutely.
man.
Absolutely. We'll
Absolutely.
make sure we put the information, the bio, the link, and everything in the description, and we'll make sure we continue, like Nika said, to get that word out because you dropped some knowledge on me, knowing that when you was telling me that certain laws and certain bills were just passed like a couple
Yep.
of weeks ago, and I'm just thinking, dang, man, you got to keep up with all of that.
Right,
So
right, right. And we
that's
partner.
impressive.
Kwame and I talked about, us coming in and actually having, a presentation for parents in
I
the city,
remember. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Where,
We talked about that.
that's
Exactly.
all a burden lifter, right? So,
Absolutely.
Kwame and I are going to sit down and talk about how we
I think we need to
institute
do
our
it.
program to help
Yep.
those in the city or whoever with
Mm-hmm.
Medicaid, Medicare program for GAP.
Absolutely. I think we need to do that, man. Absolutely. I
Yep,
remember us talking about that just this past Friday. So yeah,
yep, yep.
absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Coolio,
Hey, I
man.
appreciate that. I
Oh, yeah,
Look
appreciate
yeah.
at
that.
you
Absolutely.
Sure.
doing
All
good
right.
within the
Look,
community.
look. It is funny. He's doing good in the community. And look, let me tell you one more thing. I just saw where the Applebee's date night. I
Uh-oh.
know George went and bought one because they sold out in 60 seconds.
You said you was gonna be online. Did you get your
I've been
Did you get
twirling
your
my
pass?
I've been twirling my car like it's a black car. I got an Applebee's.
You didn't
They
get your
they sold.
You didn't get your card, your pass,
I forget it. I'd be
your
like,
date
oh
pass.
my pass.
Anyway.
I'm not surprised. 60 seconds,
Oh,
Yeah,
less
all
than a
right.
minute.
I
yeah.
just had to get that one out, boy. Oh my
I
God.
mean, yeah,
Unbelievable.
less than
I
an
don't know
hour.
who.
Yeah, they sold out. They sold out really quick.
That's
Really quick.
amazing. Did they say how much volume they had, how many cars they had overall?
I'm trying to
I
remember.
personally
They
forgot
they
all
gave
about
the
it, and I
numbers,
saw it.
but it was to the point where they literally had to go back and revamp. So I'm quite
Hmm.
sure
It
in
crashed.
another couple of months they're going to re-up and bring that program right back.
Other companies are gonna do it. Next is Red Lobster. They already have the endless shrimp. Now they're gonna come up with the endless date night pass. Watch,
I don't have that
it's
kind of
coming.
time.
Biscuits, Jesus, the biscuits at Red Lobster. I don't care what y'all talk about. You can go down here to Tom's and Chops Lobster Bar downtown in Nobu.
Listen.
Give me a Red Lobster biscuit.
He said no.
You can make them at home. You can make them at home, and they're easy to make. I make them quite often for my
Seriously,
kids.
they taste like red lobster.
They taste the same. The trick is, and I'll tell everybody this, even when you make pancakes, the trick when you're adding water is to add cold water, like ice cold. They're gonna be fluffy. Don't knock it till you try it.
That sounds like
Trust me.
some.
That sounds like some coincidence.
Okay, whatever. I bet you try it.
I'm gonna make a batch of cold water, batch of hot water.
Ice cold water. It's gonna make a difference. It's gonna be fluffier. I'm telling you, I cooked. Okay.
I feel like I want to pop up just right now and just hit the button on that little boy that pops up on TikTok. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
I just wanna...
You a hater. You a hater. You are a hater.
She said ice cold water. But, hey,
ice cold water. The next time you try to make pancakes at home, use ice cold water. Whatever the ingredients call for, use ice cold water. I bet you it's way fluffier.
I am. All right.
Okay.
Cooks and not just in the microwave.
I know.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
I didn't have a man waiting on me for 2 years for nothing.
Ooh. Don't do that. Don't act like you ain't tell me over the break while we was on break. What happened to your Detroit Lions? Ooh.
Oh yeah.
No, but it's all right.
It's okay.
I shall provide. That's all right.
Them Detroit Lions, baby. They got laid out.
No. I told you our coach changed his name from Dan Campbell to Dan Gamble.
Bro, y'all had it. Y'all had it in the bag.
He got confused. He started playing Madden 2K.
That boy had that Rocky music playing in his head. Dun dun dun. Dun dun. He's like, go for it.
Okay.
I'm like, boom, boom, boom. This
for Detroit.
Oh, man. You can kick a field goal every now and then.
Oh my God, that's
all
right.
You woke up living a dream. You thought it was a dream when you woke up this morning, huh?
Dream used to read Word Up magazine.
Oh my God. All right, cool.
So what's on your menu for the Super Bowl?
So
Mr.
what's on the menu, guys? All right, I'm gonna tell y'all guys. This is what I got on the menu. I want you to check it out. It's this dip that I have that I really stand by. Go and get you some ground beef. You can get the Kobe if you want. Bring up a little bacon dish, some Philly cream cheese, sour cream, mozzarella, and some sharp shredded cheddar cheese. Some taco seasoning, and then you put that ground beef in that dish. And you put that seasoning on it. You put some more mozzarella, some more shredded cheese in them. You bake it at about 350 for about 12 minutes. And get them Tostito hint of lime chips. Oh,
so you're not making your own chips?
Listen.
It seems like you need to make your own chips.
You buy them Tostitos lime chips. Them things right there, the hint of lime, they hit. They hit. And you can hit me up on my TikTok. At Gregory Can See Right. And I'll walk you through the step-by-step of how to cook it. But I'm going to tell you what else to go with this, too. You want to get a bottle?
What's the name of the dish? It's, I make a rotel dish to sound like the same. I just slap some. You got a gourmet rotel dish here that you spend way more money than I do.
I just call it slap your mama beef dip. Listen, listen, it's a C right. I'm telling you, slap your mama beef dip. Let me tell you, and I love it. I love it. For those of us who like meat.
Yeah, I don't eat meat.
Anyway, but here's the other deal, though. You can get a bottle of Corona. And all you got to do is drink a nice chug or two of that. And then you pour 2 shots of Grand Marnier inside the Corona. And then you take a shot of grenadine. and put it in there, bruh, listen to me. And then you get one of them Cohiba cigars, the Panatellas. I love them long. I love them long stems, man. And where the ring gauge is about 26. Look, see, I like the 26 ring gauge. You know,
That's
medium
about
body.
26.
That one ain't no 26. That
what's
one is about a
26?
good,
The circumference?
40 right there. That's a medium right there. That's probably a good 40.
Oh, you talking about the thin boy?
Yeah. I like the real thin boys. I like the 115 meters on the real long ones. You know, that's only about 5 inches though. But still, I'm telling you, man,
you could pair that with that.
You pair it with that. OMG.
Oh.
Now Greg get down cooking now. I was finna try to hate on him a little bit, but I seen him set up and fry some spam one day. I said, now let me some nigga. I said, let me see what this black fella finna do with this spam. You know,
he grew up in the hood.
You know, he got the Viking oven, and you know the and Maserati and the Viking.
Here we go again. That's right.
Sub-Zero fridge. I said, well, let me see what this joker gonna do with this 49-cent can of spam.
He a real one. He driving a Maserati eating spam. That's
right.
A real one.
Look, right. I'll drive that mug eating bologna sandwich. I even got that on the TikTok.
I used to eat bologna sandwiches.
Post something, nigga. I put something crazy on there like, doggone thing showing off. Boy, a whole lot of some stuff, boy.
So, Greg, where did the love for cooking come from?
Where did the love for cooking come from? You know, to be honest, it's been more of a getaway for me. You know, when I cook, I can just sort of kind of get away. I don't have to compartmentalize a whole bunch of stuff that has happened throughout the day. And that's been over time. You know, it's been over time where I just picked it up and just started saying, you know what, this is the best way for me to get away, you know. And
about how long? About how long ago?
I'll say probably
like 10 years.
7. I'll say at least a good 7 years now, 7 plus years now, at least. You know, when I really got into it, I would always do it just, you know, grill, backyard grill, all that stuff, you know. But when I really got into cooking, you know, creating TikToks like I've done,
right,
yeah. Because, you know, I'm glad you said something. Because what I want to do for Valentine's, I want the brothers to hit me up so I can help them with the Valentine's Day surprise meal for the girl, for the wife, for the I'm gonna get in trouble again.
Yeah, because everybody thinks that. No, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because everybody think that Valentine's Day you gotta buy these extravagant gifts. Well, maybe I'm just different. But if you make me a nice, heartfelt meal with top it off with some wine, and some good dessert afterwards. We're good.
Panties in the face. I'm just trying to tell you.
Hey,
I'm trying to tell you,
man. Y'all make it harder. If you just do a meal.
The brothers want to be hard-headed and just want, I don't need to cook. I don't want to cook. But I'm going to tell you now, guys, look, I have been around some brothers. I've been around some SEALs. I've been around some Rangers. I've been around quite a few people, you know, from a military, the biggest and the strongest of the strong. And I'm telling you, these cats, that cooking is a means of getaway, but it also helps you with whoever your love interest, whoever you're trying to get at, you know, listen, man, I'm telling you, man.
You clean while you cook. Please.
Yes, absolutely. You've been there. You've seen me cook, so don't even try it. You've been there. Don't even play.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general. I don't mind you. Like, I'll stay away because I know some of us women get too involved, like do this, do that, do it this way, do it that way. So if a male is cooking for me, I'm not in the kitchen. But please don't have a mess. Lord, please learn how to clean as you cook.
That's one thing I cannot deal with.
Don't do us like that.
Yeah, right.
You just
sure.
Yeah, right. You can't tell we neat freaks by just, we neat freaks. My kitchen and the house is clean as
like but everybody is not like you and Greg.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not talking about you guys. but I'm just speaking in general. If
Right,
men
right.
learned that they could get us some nice flowers and a
Mm-hmm.
nice meal, and baby, once we know that you put your heart into it and it tastes good, your dessert is gonna be delightful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is so
That
true.
part.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you this right now, right up the front, right off the bat. George ain't really got to cook, because all you got to do is show him that doggone Rolex on his arm right now, and
Right.
we'll be done. See,
Blind
you
to
see that
me.
Rolex? You see that Rolex on that arm right there?
Hey, you
See
baby.
how he's sitting it up? I ain't even got see how he's sitting it up over there.
That's the type of time he on.
I had to go on the park, boy.
That's
You
the type of time he on.
That's what we. That's what we
That's the
doing.
type of time.
George,
You know?
George don't cook. He gonna take you on a date. He the one who gonna tell you what time to go on the date.
A date, right? To
He missed
Applebee's. To Applebee's.
Hey, my man. Hey, get that. Let me see. Get all you want. I'm gonna try to get valet at Applebee's. I'm gonna like park me up.
Like, Applebee's do not have valet. Sorry,
in front. I don't want to go at regular valet. Put me up front.
Oh, boy, that's hilarious.
Not in this lifetime. You won't get valet at Applebee's.
Oh boy.
Oh man, guys, listen, I really appreciate today. I definitely appreciate, definitely, guys. George, you got any last words for us, man, about today's
Man,
events?
seriously, it was a great cast today, man. Kwame came on, man. I tell you, you can't listen to that guy and his passion about mentorship and turning the trajectory of the Black community around, man, without being convicted. And I've been convicted ever since I heard him at his book signing, and I'm still going to commit my time to it. Just got a lot of irons in the fire right now, but definitely going to commit my time to it. And I'm just thankful that we have great friends, man. Most of our friends have responded. It's like, hey, man, you're going to jump on. And he's on NBC. He going on. I've seen him on so many different news stations and outlets, and media outlets, that has been crazy. So he just jumped on. He was like, man, anytime y'all want me to come on. So I'm just grateful that God has given us great connections and great networks and a great tribe of friends that support what we do. I thank you guys, because y'all dope too.
And drop that website again too, about the home
eliteinhomecareATL@gmail.com. eliteinhomecareATL@gmail.com. Just reach out to us, and if you have needs, we'll get you turned around in 30 days and get you in the program and find what fits for you best and help you in your medically fragile child.
Cool. Appreciate it, guys. Subscribe, follow, share.